Alright, for the next problem here, I'm going to go ahead and figure out my A, B, and C. So my A is 1, my B is negative 10, and my C is negative 40. These always should be plus signs, so that's why I know they're negative values. The formula says negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. Plug in your values. Negative 10 actually makes it be a positive 10. B squared is 100 minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. So I end up getting 10 plus or minus, this would be 100 plus the opposite here, negative 4 times negative 40 is 160 all over 2. 10 plus or minus, we get 260 all over 2. This can be broken down, so I'm going to need to go off to the side and do a separate problem for the square root of 260. The square root of 260 is 26 times 10. This is 13 times 2. This is 2 times 5. So I have a pair. It's a pair of 2's. So I have 10 plus or minus 2, the square root of, these stay on the inside. 13 times 5 is 65 all over 2. Now when you reduce this, the 2 has to be divided by the 10 and the other 2, only things on the outside. So my final answer is going to be 5 plus or minus the square root of 65 over 1, which we don't need to write. This is the importance of quadratic formula, because not all the time, just like in the last one and this one, do we come up with whole numbers or fractions. And so we have to have a method that will allow us to be able to figure out those answers. On this next problem, if we go ahead and use these 4 numbers, they're going to be such big, huge numbers that they'll be horrible to work with. I couldn't do this on any of these other ones because they didn't have any like factors. What I mean by that is they didn't have something you could divide everything by. On this one, I can divide everything by 4. And I will, because it will make it much easier to deal with the quadratic formula. So what I end up getting is 1x squared plus 2x minus 9 equals 0. Please, if you notice that something shares a like term, please divide each of those, because it will simplify and make your work much easier. So now A is 1, B is 2, and C is negative 9. Plugging in the formula, negative B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2A, I end up getting a negative 2 plus or minus 2 squared minus 4 times A times C all over 2 times A. So I get negative 2 plus or minus 4. Change my signs and plus the opposite here to make sure I have the right term in here. Negative times a negative is a positive, so I get positive 36 all over 2. This gives me the answer of negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 40 over 2. The square root of 40 can be broken down. The square root of 40 is 20 times 2. 20 times 2 is 5 times 4. And so 5 is prime, 2 times 2 is 4, and 2. So I have a pair of 2's, and the 5 and the 2 will stay on the inside. So I end up getting negative 2 plus or minus 2 the square root of 10 all over 2. 2's are all divisible, and so I end up getting negative 1 plus or minus, I don't need to put 1 square root of 10, I can just write square root of 10.